Hey everyone, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you join me, and I hope you're kicking back with your cup of coffee and a nice little muffin as I get into this very special historic piece. And before I do, as always, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It would be greatly appreciated, and it'll help all the collectors, I say it all the time, help all the collectors find this cool stuff. Anyway, with that out of the way, as always, this here is a likely's 1930s. It could conceivably be late 20s, a Buck Rogers prototype rocket. The person that I acquired this from had a extensive collection of Buck Rogers prototypes, and the person that he acquired it from was an attorney that had something to do with the closing of the Marx toy factory in Erie. And that person was selling off tons and tons of prototypes over the years. So, the reason I add these credentials, if you will, or qualifiers, is because this one is not marked like some of the other prototypes would have X and a number and it'll say Erie. But you could see here, this one does not have, at least that we can see. Now let me get back to the toy a bit later. I'm gonna show you something from Alpha Drome. In fact, that I posted on there, but I want to read this to you because it kind of gives you a better perspective, and then I'll scroll down and show some pictures. But anyway, this is the Marx prototype rocket ship, circa 1930s, perhaps 20s, 11 inches wide, 11 inches long, 4 inches wide, 5 inches high. One-of-a-kind, hand-painted prototype is an early example of what they call a Stage 1 model from the Marx Research and Development Department, the R&D, as it's more commonly known. According to the Greenberg's Guide to Marx Volume 1, the R&D department would work on ideas and create rough examples of toy models. During this time, the model would be put together and painted by hand. Many times, the toys would be crudely assembled and tested for functionality only before moving on to the next stage of production. During this time, the models would not be cataloged. This rocket ship prototype is not cataloged and did not come with any serial numbers or dates of creation, as many of the R&D prototypes did, which helps narrow down where this model was in the R&D production stages. This particular model is a wind-up that is supposed to move forward. One of the wheels has an off-center axle, and when moving along a flat surface, the model would rock back and forth. Unfortunately, this example does not function. The wind-up mechanism remains intact and functional, but the wheels do not clear the housing, which keeps the mechanism from unwinding. The hatch on the front of the model is meant to open, and there is an arm inside that would push something out. This is similar to the mechanism found in one of the Marx tank series made from the early 30s to the mid-50s. This model may have had a spaceman or ray gun that would pop in and out as it went along the floor. I speculate it may have been removed, possibly because the engineer thought it would have been binding up the mechanism. This model is made of heavy pressed steel or galvanized metal, as evidenced by the weight and interior patina. It weighs 1.5 pounds. The nose piece looks to be made out of wood and resembles a chess piece and appears to be glued in place. The rear of the model has an opening the size of a dime where the model would shoot out sparks, and see the pictures on the side of the model towards their horizontal on-off switch. I believe this model was crudely based on the Buck Rogers rocket ship in the cartoons. In doing research on this model, I found several examples of this shape and this type of rocket ship used in Buck Rogers comic strips, as well as the Buck Rogers promotional materials that were given out to children in the mid to late 30s. There are several examples listed here. The earliest is from the 1930s and shows a football-shaped yellow rocket ship with round porthole-type windows, and a tail fin on the rear. The tail fin has roughly the same dimensions as the Buck Rogers 25th century rocket ship, as well as the same color. It's likely that more variations of this model exist, and they were used to create the well-known and popular Buck Rogers 25th century rocket ship, the Cruiser, remember? For this reason, I request other collectors' assistance in notifying me of any other examples known to exist. So that was the gentleman that's a Marx prototype collector. let's go here, and this is, pictures of the rocket, which, you have the rocket there, which I will film anyway in a second, but it's actually easier to show you this way. And when we get down past the pictures of the actual rocket, we'll have some of the comics that I thought was actually more important insofar as giving you an idea of how this was actually designed and what they were going after. And you can see here the flint wheel. So quite a number of pictures. And these colors are really, really accurate to the time period. Probably loaded with lead. So now we look at, let me try to pan back now so we get the model in frame and kind of show you some of these pictures. Look at that compared to that, right? I mean, there's clearly a resemblance. Let's go back a little further. This would be the interior, and you can see the fin over there. You can see the exhaust port there, kind of where your sparks, let me move this here, where your sparks would shoot out here. Another shot of the rocket there. Here's just a cover of Amazing Stories, and it just gives you the whole Zeppelin type space cruiser that this has a style of. And here again you have another with the portholes there and the fin on one of the comic strips. Let's X that out. Another one there. So I think the whole point was to try to verify that that's what they're going for. I feel like this is one of the closest to that shape. Now, anyway, you can see here, and let's get this out of the way. I do have the flash on for this. And so it doesn't really roll, but I could see where this, when you look at this wheel here, how it's off-centered. And it binds there a little bit. So you see how this is not circular rotation. And this one moves freely. So again, I'm guessing that maybe they did want to go for that wallowing effect. The one thing I was concerned about was, well, could they have been going for like a submarine? I don't think so. And here's the on-off switch. Again, this is very crude. I'm trying to think, the paint itself is definitely, the colors reminiscent of that time period. And here's your flint wheel in there. This just does not seem like something that would really, I mean, as far as like, could it be a homebrew item? But this would be really complex, believe it or not, to stick all that mechanism in there, cut the metal around like that. So the fact that this came from somebody that had access to the actual Erie factory and had tons of prototypes, and that person authenticated it to his knowledge. So I would tend to think this is a legit prototype. But anyway, I mean, again, not being marked. Now, could it be marked on the inside? It's possible. Let's go around this way. So the question is, do you feel this is authentic? I feel it's 100% authentic. I've never seen anything that's quite like this. And I think, again, if you look at the pictures, and stick this back here. I mean, yeah, I think it's a legit Marx attempt. That was 1936, so it's possibly 30s. I feel like it could have been earlier, but at the end of the day, it might have been just too complex for what they were going for, and I think it spawned other models, though, or other toys. So anyway, that is your Marx Buck Rogers prototype rocket, and I hope you enjoyed it. And this really is a piece of toy history, and it shows you a glimpse into the toy design and creation process. The way they mock things up like that. So anyway, that's that's all I've got to say on this. Let me know what you think, and I would appreciate comments and replies. And don't forget to thumb it up if you like it. With that, as always, thanks for your time, and I will talk to you later.